full of donuts and coffee. We're going to go ahead and get this thing started here in just a few moments.
So no comment from the audience.
Okay, folks, as we get started here, so that you understand, if you have a question for any of the candidates, be it one or all, as opposed to going and running around here with microphones and taking up additional time, you need to fill out that question, give it to Ray, and he in turn will forward it on to me, number one. Number two, after we get through with this, you can approach each one of these candidates with whatever you would like to go ahead and start with. As you know, at this point in time, we have a grand total of 7 people shooting for 4 openings. Okay? So I'm going to ask the questions that I was told to ask, or decided I was going to ask. We're going to be starting from the left to the right with each one of the questions that we are going to ask. And the first thing we want to know is the name of you and how long you have been here.
Okay, I'm Lucille DeGuire. I've been here in Brookridge for over 6 years.
I'm Gail Metcalf, and I've been here almost 6 years.
I am Rich Stratton. It's only been 41 years of my family. Not too long ago, thank you.
My name's...
It is on.
Okay. My name's Mark Keller, and I bought the home in 2014, and I became a Florida resident in 2017.
My name is Anna Webster, and I have lived in Brookridge for 4 years.
Good evening. Denny Beaudoin, and I've lived here for approximately 1.5 years. I'm Lucian Joseph Noel. No? Okay. I'm Lucian Joseph Noel. I bought the house in 1993 and I moved in 1994, January. I go by Joe, by the way.
Good, because I was looking at that wondering if I was going to mispronounce that one. What I would like to know is any clubs or affiliations that you have been part of since living here in Brookridge?
Yes, I did for a while. I was a unit rep and did a lot of visiting of new people. Very interesting. And also, I'm a caller at the Tuesday night bingo. I also am one of the main people for one of the card clubs on Tuesday. Other than that, I'm very involved with different card games. I love to play cards.
Okay. I am part of Ladies of Brookridge. I've been on the beautification committee. That was actually my first endeavor. I chaired the last fall festival. I've been chairman of the board of directors for 3 years. And when I was on the board of directors, I had met with all personnel when I became president to get to know them better. And I also called dime jingles.
Rich Stratton. Started out President Social Club, Men's Club, past, secretary, melting pot, member, unit rep, president Garden Club previous, and I'm president of Cars and Coffee, which puts on the car shows.
Mark Keller. I'm involved with the Golf Association. Play a lot of golf, and I've been on the audit committee last year, and I'm the executive chairperson for the audit committee this year.
belong to the Women of Brookridge. I'm the secretary of the club. I'm also the secretary on this board, as you well know. And I work with bingo on the Tuesday night bingo. And I do whatever anybody needs me to do. Thank you.
I'm a member of the Architectural Control Committee. I'm also a member, acting chairperson of the AVRC, the Violations and Appeal Review Committee. I've also worked this past fall on the Fall Festival.
I'm with the Brookridge Campers Club, and I'm also recently just joined the RV complex cleanup crew and stuff like that. As a second person.
Why would you want to be on the board?
I want to be punished.
And so it will be.
Okay. Now, I really want to make a difference. If I am voted in, I'll be honest, straightforward. I'll ask questions. I'll try to understand things before I get into the mode of making a decision with the boards, other board members.
Punishment, I don't know. No. Why? After I took a year off from being on the board, I realized that this is what I really love to do. I love to be in the position to make a positive change. I think when we were on the board that we made a lot of good changes. You can't please everybody, but we need to keep the integrity of Brookridge positive and working with people. And most of the people that I did work with, it worked out very well, and understanding the rules and regulations and governing documents of Brookridge.
Again, Rich Stratton. Being around a long time here, I see a lot of presidents and vice presidents run the organization here, and some are sitting here. I like to follow in their footsteps because they did a good job. And they put this place where it is today. And without them, we wouldn't have this. The lady next to me, she did a good job. Larry did a great job. It goes on and on. All I want to do is continue on and make sure everything is done right. Down to paying the bills, reading the contracts, everything involved, top to bottom, like you do at home. Nothing slips by you. My term is, I never leave any money on the table.
Mark Keller again, and I want to make a difference in the board. Several times I've come to meetings and people are yelling and screaming at each other, which I find sickening. And a lot of times, you know, it just upsets me to see people do that. I want to see, sometimes I feel like we're like Congress. They don't know what they're doing. And not the board or anything like that, but people fighting back and forth. I want to make a difference. And in all my management that I've had in my lifetime, I feel I could make a big difference and help people understand each other.
I believe the year that I've been on the board has been a tremendous learning experience for me. I've learned a lot. I've seen a lot of things, and there are a lot of changes, I think, that need to be made. We're learning every day, and this board is learning. I'm here to work for the residents, and I want to do the best job I know how for them. I'm available to them. I have a lot of background experience, and I think I can help make a difference with a good board.
When I moved into our community here, and I apologize for my voice, I think I'm coming down with the flu or something, so I apologize for that. When I moved into the community, I made an investment to move here, and I look to spend the rest of my days, if you will, in this community. I want to do something besides be a bystander to what's going on in the community. I want to take an active role. I think each and every one of us made an investment, and it's our future. I think we need to have a very positive future. We need to eliminate the infighting that goes on. I understand there are differences, and we need to have those differences, but we need to be open to one another. We need to listen, understand, and protect our investment, and have the best quality of life moving forward.
Having been on the board back in 2001 era, I've seen this community do very well and make changes. And we've done some very good things back in the past, and it appears that we're trying to do some more good things now, and I'd like to be part of that future to get us going with more unity amongst the residents as well as amongst the board. Because as other board officers here have said, you can't fight your way to the top. You've got to have, first people have got to listen, and you've got to make decisions, and then you've got to take an act on those decisions. And all that stuff has to be brought out to each resident so they know what's going on. And if I'm elected to the board, I will try to listen to everybody and try to get feedback to everybody from what I hear from other residents as well as other board members.
What is right with the community?
What is right about this community? I've always appreciated being here. I visited for almost 20 years before I bought in, and when I retired, I knew where I wanted to come. I did find that there were things that weren't quite okay about the community, and they still need to be rectified. But I am appreciative of being part of this community.
When I came to Brookridge, we found that it wasn't just a park with a bunch of old people. We found everyone to be an inspiration. I like that people are so active, and that for the most part people are very friendly to each other. Your neighbors are very friendly to each other, and where people can talk to each other, and people are willing to sit down and talk, and that's what's right. Our security, everything is very good.
The community, what is right, I'll tell you right now, it's right here sitting in front of me. This is the community.
Sorry.
We only have a few people come out. I'm going to guess 2,500 homes. How many people involved? What do we have here? I'll just say 60. This is what I'm here for. The people of Brookridge. I've been here a long time. I mean, I have good friends out here. I love them. Pat back there, she's the best person ever. It doesn't matter. I say that because she is, and I didn't know her years ago. I know her now, and my past is my past, my present is my future. And that's what I'm here for. Until the day I die, these are my friends.
Mark Keller again, and I tell you what, the reason why I moved here to Brookridge is because I visited several other retirement communities, and I tell you what, I gotta applaud everybody for keeping their houses up and keeping the boulevards looking good, and it's a great community. When I drive by on my golf cart, I'll wave at somebody, they'll wave back, and it's just the friendliest community, and that's one thing I like about Brookridge.
I think it's a privilege to live in this development. Yes, we own our own property and we pay our small HOA dues, but as one of the gentlemen said, there just are so many things here that we can do, we can be involved in, make friends, and I have made a lot of friends here, a lot of good friends. They're nice people here, and we're all here to have fun and enjoy the rest of our lives. And I think we need to be more tolerant of each other sometimes, and always look at the other side. But it is, I lived in another community here, and it was a rental community, a small one, but I'll tell you, I am very blessed, and I'm very happy to be in this community and with these people.
I know a lot of people have already said it's the people here. I think what I find what's right about this community is the diversity. There's so much we can learn from one another. It's not spending the rest of our lives, you know, sitting in our houses and not dealing with one another, not communicating, not challenging one another. It's what we do. We challenge one another. We're alive, and I want to end my days being very much alive, and I think it's the diversity that's here that helps me be alive.
Over the years, we have lost a lot of friends because we've been here for umpteen years, since '94. But we've also made a bunch of new friends. We've seen people come and go, sell their houses, move off to other places, but we've seen them come back. And we've got some friends that have just moved in recently that had been gone for years. So this shows that Brookridge is an excellent place to live. And all we have to do is communicate with each other and communicate with the people that are in charge and make it a two-way street. If we do that, we'll have a great time in Brookridge.
If given the opportunity, what would you change about Brookridge?
Well, I am concerned about accountability and more so with the finances. We've had a tough year. When they say we, we're all in it together. We need to be more careful. And we need to be more out front about what's going on. That would be one of the important things. Thank you.
What would I change? I think, especially after this year has been, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and it's just, there's just no communication between one group and another group. I would definitely make sure that the correct information is there, and if someone has an issue, that you should speak with them one-on-one and they can understand what it is that they're saying, because sometimes that information is just not correct. And once everybody knows the information, it's much easier for everybody to get along and move forward.
I think the main topic is I want to change all the stop signs to whoa. We don't stop anyway. We all know what whoa is. We talk to the horse, we say whoa, the horse stops. Excuse me. But the change is hard or easy. I'm sitting here with Gail, and I look and see and hear every day rumors. I love rumors. They're all wrong. But the people still make it because in their house, that's their rumor. And over here's another rumor. I like the person that says, we're done to rumors. If you want to come step to the plate, come on up next to me and step to the plate and play ball or play left out. Excuse me.
What I don't like about Brookridge is, just like him, I think they ought to take all the stop signs and put up yield signs. Because we have vendors that run through them, they don't stop at them or anything else like that. And I agree with him, the rumor mill has to stop. It has to stop because that's what's causing discourse in this community. And when I hear a rumor, I ask them why, how's come, and what for. I said, and why they feel like that. I just think that this has to stop. We have to come together and go from there.
My feelings are we need to be a little more involved, especially the board, for the residents, and do more research on projects that are being done, be able to answer our residents. And I think that there are things, we have so many professional people in this development that would be more than willing to help in different areas. Contracts, an inspector who is familiar with the work that they do. I myself would like to see ad hoc committees. I worked on one for the stain for the wainscoting. And it's a very diligent job. And I think that a lot of people would like to be more involved in some of the decision making that they can bring to the board, and the board can review and make the best decisions for this for the residents.
I guess I would sum it up in 2 words. One are rules, and the other is transparency. I believe that we have rules, and there's a reason for rules. With a background in law enforcement, I know that rules are what separates us from anarchy, and we have to abide by those, whether we like it or not. That's what keeps us safe in our community here. Second one being transparency. I agree very much with what others have said here on the board. I believe we need to have more transparency of our board to our community so that we understand, those of you sitting out there, since that's where I've been sitting, I want to understand what's behind the decisions that are made so that I can be confident in the board members making those decisions.
And to follow up on what you said there, I think that comes from two-way communication from the board to the resident and from the resident to the members of the board. It has to be two-way communication. It can't be where somebody comes up here and makes a comment that we should all be thinking about long before. We shouldn't have one person or 2 persons coming up and making a single comment. They should get together and either go through their unit reps or somehow come along and bring this problem that is more than one resident thinking about to the board. That way there, the board can become educated, which we have to become educated to resolve the problem. Unit reps are very good people. They're your local first talk to. After you talk to them, go with them when they come up and talk to the board. Support them in their individual cases, because that's the way you get the word to the board. Otherwise, after having sat on the board for a couple of years, you get isolated up here because nobody talks to you except when they come down to the podium to deal with you. So we have to get the communication going up and down the stream. And sitting up here very quickly becomes a dictatorial type of thing to our residents, because we don't realize, and I learned this from before, we don't realize that we're in our own little world up here and we're not listening. We're just trying to fight fires with fire. So that's the only thing I would tend to say is we have to talk to one another all the time, every time, and not let a problem become a crisis.
Real easy question at this point in time. Generally speaking, are you supportive of our current administration?
The truth? Okay. I won't answer that, or else it will incriminate me. No, really, I realize everybody here, administration, people that are paid to work here, people that are volunteering to do things here to help the community, they need to be honest with each other, respectful, open, and yet sometimes I feel like they're not listening. And that's where I leave it.
Having served on the board for 3 years, and as president, I spent a lot of time with all the personnel. And in my 3 years as president on the board, whenever there was any issue, I spoke with the personnel and we got everything straightened out. I will tell you that the last couple of letters that have come, that have generated specifically, especially about me, every one of those allegations about misspending money is completely untrue, and that will be answered to the state. We already have all of the information. You can't allege because you don't like what something's done. Perhaps what the problem has been for the past year or so is that they don't know how to get the correct information out there. And I am very supportive of what we've done. Just for the record, we always have an independent audit every year. And it's an auditor that has been shown by the state. They have nothing to do with Brookridge. We don't know them. We hire them according to state rules. And as a matter of fact, this past year, they found over $200,000 more in our reserve than what we had thought. So when you hear those rumors, they need to be confirmed, and let's talk about them. Yes, I do support the administration. I support Vince Pizzo here at the clubhouse. They work their tails off for us. Yeah, there was a problem with the floor, but the floor isn't bad right now. And of all of the things that they've done, for all of the other work that's been done, and for them to not be said, it looks good, everyone seems to go on the bad side. Code enforcement. Code enforcement is there to do a job. They're there to keep the rules and regulations of Brookridge. They are not there to go after people. They are not after a certain person or because you're young or old or whatever. They do their jobs. We all came here so that because we want to live under those rules. And if anybody had misconceptions when they moved in here, it is definitely the seller's fault, because right in our deed restrictions, it is the seller's responsibility to tell you what you come into. So yes, are there flaws? Of course, we're all human beings. But for the most part, yes.
You got 15 minutes. I gotta get my notes out here. All I want to say is, from today on, we move ahead. We don't look back yesterday, last month. We're going to move ahead. This is 2020, not the 19, 18, or 17. The job is to move ahead and get it done correctly and correctly right. For the new board going on, we will analyze everything and look at it. Contracts upside down, inside out, money back, completed dates, name of the game. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to move ahead and not worry about the past and rumors. Thank you.
I'll say amen to that. And I have been very happy with the board, to tell you the truth. Sometimes I've really felt sorry for people like Ron Ross, Ken Sajak, and other people, because of the way they've been treated. And anybody that volunteers their time and they get treated that way, that upsets me. I'm a very tender-hearted person, and I hate to see anybody be treated the way this board has been treated this last year.
I have not had any problems, really. Discussion, maybe we don't agree with everything, but Ray and I seem to get along just fine. I get along with code enforcement. Vince and I, we get along. We don't, you know, you don't always have to agree with each other, but you can always come to an understanding. You have to listen to what the other person is saying, not just what you want to say. The other side of that is some of the information that we have been given as a board was quite cruel to a couple of our employees. Very hurtful. And I think we need to stop and think, what if that was us? What if that was happening to us? They've got a hard job, these guys that work here, and gals. It's not easy pacifying all of these residents, but they do that, and they do the best they can. And I'd like to know one person who doesn't have a bad day every now and then. And we need to understand that. And I go along with Rich when he says, we're moving into 2020. The past is the past. Let's move forward.
Short and sweet, yes, I support the administration.
In Brookridge, when I first moved here, all the rules were not available to all the residents. Just to give you an idea. Now, everything is available online. So there's no excuse for everybody not knowing what the rules are. A couple clicks on a computer and you got it. If you don't have that capability, ask somebody. There's enough of us geeks running around here that are more than happy to help any resident figure out this stuff. So if we have all the rules down, there is no reason why a board member and a resident can't look at the same set of rules and come to an agreement. All you gotta do is read, talk, and respond. You don't yell at anybody, you don't get excited about it. If there's a problem with the rules, I have no problem trying to change it if it's for the benefit of the community. So I don't have a disagreement with anybody that follows the rules. They're perfect people. Kind of going along with my friend here, these things, rules are made for keeping problems from happening. We need to do that as individuals and as board members. And if we do that, we won't have any of this stuff that goes around that says A, B, or C didn't do something right, because we all know what was written and what was right.
These are questions or statements, whatever, that have been submitted from the folks here in the audience. The first one is, lately there has been 10 to 15 people using social media to belittle Brookridge and the board of directors. What would you say to these few people who want to damage the reputation of Brookridge?
I presume you're talking about next door. Could be. I was on it for a while. I was trying to be helpful, but it took only one time for me to say something that it was my opinion, and it was just limb-basted, you know. It was like, hey, I don't need this. So I read, I listen, should I say I keep abreast of what's happening with Nextdoor and other sites, but I try not to get involved with it because it gets to be crazy and it's not healthy. I have to say at this point, there's a gentleman here, he's not looking this way, but Ron Ross. He's done a good job getting on Nextdoor and straightening out certain things. So give him an applause.
Nextdoor is a site that is shared by many a community. It's very disappointing. There are only a few people that are very mean-spirited when it comes to that social media. And what this has done to Brookridge is it has given us a very bad name. People don't want to move here because of that. And I really, really, truly feel very badly that a few bad apples have ruined our reputation to a lot of communities, because Brookridge does not deserve that.
If I had my way, I'd pull the whole program. Don't get me wrong in saying that. I'd pull the whole program. There's too many things out there that are lies, and people see that, and they think it's the right information. But it's wrong. If we were in a big corporation or something, they wouldn't allow that. You would have your computer taken away. Let's face it. Let's be honest with people, and don't put criticism out there and hurt people. That's all you do is hurting them. Because they feel bad. When they do that, they get into a situation where they refrain themselves. They sit in their house, don't do nothing. That's bad for us. We need the people to come out, speak, and have a good time. Thank you.
Well, I don't agree with social media. I don't get on it that much, and I think it's a waste of people's time to get on it. But I think one way that we can combat this is us to get on it and build Brookridge up. I just had my best friend move here about 6 months ago because he likes Brookridge. He likes the friendliness. He loves the way people keep their houses and everything else. And, you know, I've invited him to the golf club. The guys love him, I hope. But I just think that we need to combat this social media by getting on it and rebuttal to what they say and make it positive.
I know a little bit about that network, that neighborhood, or whatever you call it. I am not on it. I think that I didn't like the comments. I didn't like the things they were saying about the community they live in. And then when my friend in High Point knows more about what's going on here than I do, there's something wrong. We don't need that kind of advertising because we have a wonderful development here. So I, for one, have nothing to do with that neighborhood thing.
Excuse me. Social media in and of itself is not bad if it's used properly. It's when it's used to degrade and tear down that it becomes wrong. As we've seen in our government, as we've seen in other countries and what they've done to infiltrate into the United States by using social media. What I would say to those people is, if you can't say something nice about us, then don't say anything at all.
Amen.
I agree with the philosophy. The only problem is if you try to combat them, all you do is fan the fire. The best thing to do is either say a positive statement or say nothing. As far as that thing, I remember getting the invite to it, and about after 3 or 4 days, I just bailed out of it because there was too much crap running around the system that it wasn't worth being involved in it. And again, look at the intent. If the intent of a social media site is negative, then don't play with it. Just get out of it and ignore it. Because the more you go back and fan the flames of them, the more everybody gets excited. The only thing to do is either be positive statement or say nothing.
I was just thinking it'd be marvelous if everybody that decided that they wanted to outlet in social media, all we have to do is give them directions to somewhere else other than Brookridge, and they've got their open end. To Mr. Keller and Mr. Knoll, and we'll go with you first. The question is, what is your history of dealing with public or handling controversy?
Well, that's the problem. My resume was like this, and it explained a lot of it. And I didn't know I was only going to get a space like this on that page to fill out. But I've been on several different boards when there's been controversy and so forth and everything. And I try working with these people and talking with them. And if we can't come to agreement, we table it, and I get them off to the side and talk to them and just try to find out what the real trouble is. And I had a time in my life that being in the insurance business, I always had controversy with people and the adjusters, claims adjusters. And what I would do, I would mediate between them. And I would usually come out ahead.
In the past, as a member of the planning board in town and also the chairman of it, we found out that most of the time when there was a problem, it was lack of communication or misinterpretation of the rule between the person who was applying for something or trying to do something and the town itself. And so the best thing to do, following his thing, is get it down to a table and get it on a low-level thing, resolve the issue so it's not in front of the town or not in front of the community, then bring it back and report it to the community or the town, what the problems was and what the solutions were. Because you're never gonna win a war when you're fighting it amongst 100 people. You've gotta sit there and find the problem before you can solve the problem. And also, my background was with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission for power plants and stuff like that. We're always dealing with, I'm quite sure everybody's heard of Seabrook Power Plant in New Hampshire, the one that they protested for about 7 years. You have a lot of community relations in something like that. And we actually had state police that stood outside of the power plant, which one of them is a real good friend that I met back then, and they live here down in Florida, and we're still really good friends. But that was a case of people not escalating, but de-escalating problems till you can get down to the point where you can talk to them one-on-one or 3 or 4-on-1 or whatever level of committee you want to do, because that's what it takes. It takes it getting down. If you got 10 residents that got a problem, you need to get the 10 residents together, and also you need to get the people that deal with the problem with them so we understand the problem. If you don't understand the problem, there is no solution.
We're down to 2 questions. Do you agree with all of the rules that are currently in place, including the fines and loss of privileges? If not, what would you do to change the rule, and which one are you opposed to?
Okay. I believe in following the rules. I realize, like that social media thing, they're trying to say that you can't penalize punishing people with the barcode because of speeding. I think that's the only time. I could be wrong, but is that the only time? No, I think there's other times that, you know, whatever rules are broken, there has to be a level of seriousness about it before you get to that next step. So right now, for somebody to say, and that's one thing that I feel, for one person to say, oh, this is the first time I speed, but I'm going to be penalized here, there, and everywhere for this one time, it doesn't sit well with me. I feel like if somebody is habitually messing up, then it needs to escalate both monetarily and privilege, you know, lack of privileges. And that's my spiel on it.
Speeding has always been a hot topic. I remember when I was president, I'm a nerd, I go back and I read everything that's happened since 2000. And when I go through all of the minutes, speeding was every single meeting. There was speeding. I was the president on that when Ken Sajak tonight talked about the annual meeting when people talked about the speeding. Now the speeding, there were many people, and for my first year on the board, and I don't know before, my first year on the board, we had some habitual speeders. $25 fine and a 2-week suspension of privileges. Well, this person, one person that I can think of off the top of my head was a woman, and she didn't care. She paid her $25, she got two-week suspension, she didn't care. She went about 4 times. This is the reality of people that do speed. And by giving them warnings, it did no good. They were the average speed on the boulevard until, was it Ken, 2 years ago that we changed it, or 3 years ago? Okay, it was a year after I was on the board. And we talked about that. There was about 250 people here at that annual meeting, and everybody complained about the speeding. And when Ken brought up, well, the only thing we can do is to make the speeding, the violations harder. So we did a $50 fine and a 30-day suspension. Well, you know, after that girl got 2 of them, she's not speeding anymore. And since, in the last 3 years, the speeding has gone from an average of 50 miles an hour on the boulevard to about 32. And yeah, there are still speeders, but the average speed is about 28 now. And all those people that are going 28 to 30 were the ones that were going 40 to 45. The year before we changed it, we had 3 houses that were hit and gone through, not just a little hit. We actually had one that went through one house and into another house because she was speeding. She was going about 65. We had, about 2 weeks later, we had a woman on the other side of the boulevard, almost across the street from her, that took an illegal U-turn over the median, not even at a turn, went over the median. She lost control and went into someone's porch and broke their water heater. About 2 months after that, we had a woman that killed a sand crane. Damn it, if you can't see a sand crane, what the heck is wrong with you? We had people that their mailboxes were getting done. So I'm sorry, people, you can complain all you want, but the majority of people are glad about those speeding fines and the loss of privileges, because people would come in and say, I don't mind paying the fine, but I don't want to lose my privileges. Well, so, hey, you're not 10, you're not 15, 17 years old. It's a rule. Just follow it. And believe me, there's no one that is on the boulevard that is going 31 miles an hour if you turn right out of Brookridge Central that is going to get a ticket. And I would venture to ask anybody who says that to see where they were. Because when you take a left, because you're going up over corners, it is 25 miles an hour. And if you're going 31, you're going to get a violation. So I have no problem. We have gone back and forth with that. We have helped the vendor rules. We have done many things. And that's how I feel about that.
So, talk about speeders, I understand that, but my thing is stop signs. We have different rules. We have California stops. We have downshift stops. We all know what that is, don't we? They don't stop. They don't stop. There's a rule. You stop for stop signs. If you're in Route 50, you're going to stop for a stop sign, I hope. But not in Brookridge, because your mind says, I'm in my own place. I do anything I want to do. You have your home rules, their rules, and your rules. You don't stop. A while back, I was trying to get on the committee for the sheriffs to be out here and take pictures. They wouldn't let me. But I got the pictures, the card numbers, they go right through. So, what are you going to do? It's a moneymaker. I'm sorry. We miss it.
I don't have a problem with the bylaws or anything else like that. Matter of fact, I stopped by the office yesterday and picked all this stuff up and read through every bit of it. And I've seen some changes made by past presidents, some by past President Miller there that was really good, and they took the writing that was in the bylaws and made it easy for anybody to understand. So if you don't understand it, go get yourself a new set of bylaws. And I mean it. And one thing I'd like to see changed is I would like to see a committee of men, women, that can help the security guys out and use those cameras and catch speeders. Because on my street, Admiral Street, they come down there 50 miles an hour and go through the stop sign. And a lot of them are vendors. And I would love to be able to take pictures of those vendors going through there. That's all I have to say about that.
I think we're fixated on the speeding, and we all know that it's not good. And I'm another one who complains about it, because I'm probably in and out of here almost every day, and I go down Brookridge every day. and I deliberately drive the speed like I'm supposed to, and they pass me like I'm walking, and that's residents and vendors. And when I came on the board, we had a meeting with Greg, and he had a schematic of how much the changing the fines and the violations and came down after the charges went up and they lost their privileges for more than 2 weeks. And I agree with Gail when she talked about it. But I think now it's starting to get a little out of hand and it needs to be maybe addressed a little more. I have no problem with the rules, but I know the speeding is an issue in here. And the sad part of it is, we all live here. There's not one of us that I can think of, unless it's an emergency, that have to speed to get from the gate to their home. And I live at least a mile away from the gate, and I can go the speed limit.
Excuse me. Please bear with me because I've lost track of what the question was.
We're dealing with the situation. Is there something that you would change?
When it comes to the rules and regulations, the bylaws, the deed restrictions, all of those were approved by the people who live here. And if we want to change them, we can as the people who live here. So I see no reason to change it at this point. We need to live by the rules that we've all agreed to live by.
Yeah, I second that. And I also, the thing is, the board should not be making the decision to change the rules. We should put out a proposal to the residents. They decide. We enact the rules. We're like the local policeman for the rules. But we don't put our rules out there, we put your rules out there. And any rule that needs to be changed or any rule that needs to be clarified, which is a very good point, when you clarify the rules so everybody can understand it, people will follow them a whole lot better than when it's written to the point of, geez, I really didn't know what the hell they said. So, yeah, rules can be changed. We can bring stuff to the membership and the residents, but we should not impose it. We should only propose it and have you people make the decisions.
We are down to our last question. The prologue is actually informative. The question that is going to be asked is actually a fairly simple, quick type of an answer. An individual says, I'm concerned that the board directors do not understand the impact of the reserve spending in excess of the funding level saved per the reserve study. The budget we vote on lists the dollar amount of expenditures expected for the upcoming year for our reserve. Ignoring the floor fiasco, I cite the clubhouse bathroom upgrade in 2018. The reserve study projected $50,000 for the main hall bathroom, and yet the board spent $82,000. The bylaws state that the board shall ensure that all expenditures are within the overall limit of the budget. Any expenditures for alterations or improvements not included in the approved budget shall not exceed $2,000. Okay, there is a statement, and here is the question. What will you do if a proposed expenditure exceeds the amount printed in the approved budget?
If it exceeds quite a lot, of course, there's a problem there. You cannot approve one amount and then have hidden costs that you haven't really explained to the majority of the people. So everything has to be very clear. Talk about clarification, transparency. Before you go on to a project and give somebody the contract, you need to have everything spelled out carefully. And there was a proposal made a couple of months ago, I think, that as an advisory group, a person was talking about two different groups that can be formed, and that is contractually, people that are very smart about contracts. It doesn't take just the board to make a decision. The board has to listen to an advisory group if they want to make the correct decision. And the other group was a finance committee, if it's necessary. I know people say there is a finance committee, but I hop on that because there is no technically people right now that are on a finance committee. It's only brought up once a year for the budget, and then people are dismissed. So accountability, transparency, these two things were proposed a number of months ago, but they were buried. And I don't know if they'll surface again, but it's one way of handling how things go on here and how money is spent.
Could you state the question again? I just want to be clear.
Just the question is, what will you do if a proposed expenditure exceeds the amount printed in the approved budget?
Okay. I'm going to make an analogy first. You have when your car gets hit and the insurance company gives you an initial appraisal, they're only looking at the outside of the car. Once you take the fender and the bumper off, there's probably hidden damage, which normally there always is. I just had my kitchen done. We expected to spend so much. When we took things apart, we found hidden damage, as a lot of these places do. When we approve, when an approval is made to do a project in the bathrooms in there, when they took everything out, they saw water damage and they had to fix it. That cost $3,000 or $4,000 more. And I suppose the only thing that's not clear is that I wasn't here for 5 months, so I don't know what on for the last 3 projects that was done. If there is, when there is more damage and they have to re-look at something, it should come to the board, although the president has the ability to do up to a certain amount, and the general manager has an ability to go to a certain amount. I believe that whenever there is an overrun, for whatever reason, that it should be brought to the board and it's explained so that there won't be rumors or misconceptions that we're hiding something. And the problem with a lot of the projects, the numbers that were running around this past year, I will say are completely, they're not correct, because we have the documentation that some things were stated. One example is the guardrail on the boulevard and on Misty Street. That's been a problem for a long time, and that had to be fixed. We didn't have the money until recently, and it did not come out of our normal budget, but that has to do with the drainage ponds, and it comes out of the site elements. There was nothing illegal about that. It was done as a motion, and it was seconded. The problem with the floor, we'll just take the floor.
Could you just answer the question that was asked?
I am.
No, you're not.
Excuse me. And I'm going to, excuse me, Mr. MC.
I'm sorry, but you would have...
Mr. MC, let me just finish.
No, you're taking more time than any other candidate.
Please. Is what we've been talking about. Because of those things that have happened in the past, what we need to do is when there are any cost overruns, whether they're $2,000 or $20,000, they should be brought before the board and be discussed so there is complete transparency, so that everybody knows. Thank you.
I'll make it very short. They do a job, get the job done, you pay the contractor, he's done. If the money goes over, we're over on, say $80,000, where's it come from? Your pockets, maybe? No. We get it from maybe the money we have in the reserve, but then we gotta fund it back again. So it may be, in out of your pocket, another dollar. The money has to come from somewhere. It don't come out of the air or a tree. So how you cut the ice? And the board makes a decision, the money's gotta be available, and where do we get it from? Your pocket. I do get my money out of my pocket. That's where it comes from. So you gotta analyze everything top to bottom, period. And you gotta go for the board, I understand that, but you all gotta sit here and make the decision with your money. So before they do something here, you gotta open your eyes up and read everything like I do. Upside down, sideways. Because you know when you do sideways, it says save $100. Believe it or not. So you got to do a good job, and that's what we're gonna do.
Well, my opinion on this, and I'm going to keep it short and sweet, is I was an insurance agent for 18 years, and I had my own construction company when I was younger and I could do stuff. And when I was in the insurance and the construction business, I always carried completed operations, products and completed ops insurance. And the person that was putting out the bids would say, okay, this is what we want done. We want products and completed ops included in on your bid. So those people knew that it was going to cost a little bit more, but if I look at what, I mean, if I hear what I have heard about the tile, the wainscoting and stuff like that, if we would ask them for the products and completed operations, we wouldn't have the problem that we have today. And I think that's what needs to be done here. We need to start looking at these contracts a whole lot better.
Very good.
I have made a few notes that have affected our board this year in trying to get things done and doing it the right way. And I'm going to just read a couple of the notes that I made earlier. And I think I mentioned it before, any capital improvements or anything like that, we should have an inspector who knows what the requirements are to do that project and oversee the project. We have a lot of people in this development that would be more than willing to do that. My other comment was, contracts should be reviewed in depth by people who have working knowledge of contracts. Board needs to be kept informed of all expenditures and all decisions that affect the residents of this development. I said before, I'm in favor of an ad hoc or call it an advisory committee. They can do the legwork and bring it to the board for the board to review and therefore make a decision or follow up with more information that they need to find out. And my last one would be, we have a veritable well of professionals, and I've said that before, residents who could be a big help by using their talents in the growth of Brookridge. Let's take advantage of this and use it.
You have a big decision to make looking at the candidates before you. I would answer it this way. I feel honored, or will feel honored, if you select me to make decisions to look out for your welfare, your scarce dollars that you have, that we won't go out and spend money needlessly or foolishly. We will manage it We will oversee it. We will get the expertise that we need in order to make the best decisions for all of the people of Brookridge.
I think this is one good reason why we want to add a rule to our thing. Any contract which we submit out to somebody, you get quotes, you get penalty clauses in the contract, and you get contingency clauses in the contract. So now you know what the total maximum cost of that thing could be if the floor fell out of the place or whatever it happened, okay? That can be all done before you even lease the contract. I believe it is up to the board members to sit there and be totally involved with those nuts and bolts of those items and not to approve a contract that doesn't meet all these criteria that says if we replace the roof and we have to replace the rafters in the roof, that will cost X amount of thousands of dollars. And if contractor ABC does not get that thing done within a certain time, he loses money.
That's right.
Not Brookridge. And these are the types of things that we had the problems back in 2000, same type of thing. That's one of the reasons I got on the board last time, because we have to look at the details, the nitty-gritty of every dollar we spend. Now, I don't mind spending your dollars, but I sure want to get maximum effort for your dollars. And I don't want to pay for rework. I want the contractor to pay for the rework if it's his fault.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That's the information that you wanted. That's the information you needed. These are the people from whom you are going to select to fill the future board. We thank you very much for this evening, for your patience, and if you wish to continue to speak to them, they're sitting right up here.